Oh, thank you very much for joining us. We understand that you have so many choices in the morning, and we're just humbled that you're with us here, and very happy to have the State School Superintendent of Public Instruction joining us from the state of Idaho. The one, the only, Sherry Barr joins us. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. How are you, Kevin?
I'm living the dream, and great to have you with us. And first and foremost, it's wonderful to get the real side, the real news of what's going on in education in Idaho. And I covered you on the campaign, watched the debates, and it was almost like if they would have given you moments to speak, you could have actually corrected a lot of the negativity about Idaho's public schools. So thank you for joining us. And the first question is, what is the state of our education system here, ma'am?
Well, good morning, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. We are doing quite well in education. We have, since I took office, put nearly $100 million in education each year. And, Idaho students rank nationally about 25th in the nation for achievement. And, Idaho is growing exponentially. And so I'm pleased to say that our students are doing well. We have some priorities for the upcoming year to increase teacher pay, expand on some of those successful programs, flexibility in education that we've been looking for, such as mastery-based education, and work on more opportunities for our kids, like the Advanced Opportunities Program that help get our students a jump start on their college and career paths.
No, is it a challenge for you sometimes because whether there are folks or others, they just seem to regurgitate the negative points they may read in the papers. And one thing that I've learned, and you've been on the trail with us, there are some great, wonderful stories about Idaho schools, charter schools, private schools, home schools, public schools doing some outstanding work that is recognized across the country.
Absolutely. And I have a story to share. I was down in Blackfoot speaking at a back-to-school kickoff and talking to the teachers about where we actually rank nationally, and that there's this rumor that Idaho is 48th in the nation. And there was a speaker there, a national speaker. And when I was finished, they introduced him, and he looked at me and said, "Superintendent Ibarra, I've traveled all over the nation, and I want to share with you that Alaska is complaining that they're 48th. Tennessee is complaining that they're 48th in the nation." He said, "I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that all these states can't be 48th in the nation." So I just thought that was an interesting story to share with folks. And we've put a lot of facts out there about how our students are actually performing. And another great example is the National Assessment of Educational Progress. Our students have outperformed almost every state in the nation on reading except for two. So that's proof that our students are doing quite well. Schools and districts are doing great things for kids, and we have a lot of children who are really being successful.
Now, we kind of are a show based on nostalgia. Do you ever, whether it was on the campaign trail or dealing with the legislature, fighting for education and money and funding and teachers and all that, do you ever just think to yourself, boy, I just miss being a principal?
I always miss the kids in the classroom, but I think where I'm at right now, being Idaho's top advocate for kids, is exactly where I need to be, fighting for our students every single day. One of the things that you just mentioned earlier about, the rumors and the negativity surrounding education, I think they need an advocate for them that corrects that myth moving forward and lets everybody know that our kids are actually really performing right where they need to be. Can we make improvements? Absolutely. We always could, but I think it's important that kids have an advocate for them on a daily basis, and I'm proud to do that, and I thank the voters of Idaho for that.
There's a lot of frustration locally with how we fund education and everything else. Obviously, you deal with it. Under your stewardship, the state has increased the budget for education year after year. Yet you have local municipalities everywhere going, we've got to figure out a way to fund education. We seem to be a victim of our success. So many people moving in that puts pressure on our educational infrastructure. Your thoughts on educational funding? I know you'll be speaking about that during this legislative session.
Well, it's interesting. Unlike the federal government, Idaho is required to balance its budget. And And so I think that during their session, Idaho has done a great job of living within their means, unlike the government. And so there are a lot of important and competing demands for limited state resources, but I'm confident this year education will get fair and favorable consideration. I've heard, I can't speak for the legislature, but I've heard several times that, their priority is education, and they promise to be good to education again this year. I think, if you look at performance on behalf of our students, like I mentioned earlier, we have strategically invested. You just can't continue to throw money at it and hope that something sticks. But I think, the 5-year plan for education and those strategic investments and sticking to the plan, we've seen a return on our investment. Now, we do, you mentioned kind of the funding formula piece of that, and there will be a discussion this afternoon at 3 o'clock about the funding formula. I think it's no secret that folks are worried about the haves and the have-nots in our rural communities, those folks who can always pass a levy and those folks who can never pass a levy. And so I think the legislature is being prudent at trying to take a look at that. Our only concern is making sure there's no districts that are losers moving forward.
Speaking of which, another challenge, by the way, State School Superintendent of Public Instruction Sherry Ibarra with us on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller in the morning. As a teacher, as an administrator, as someone who's come up through the ranks, this means more to you than most. Keeping, retaining, recruiting Idaho teachers that stay in Idaho.
Right. I think that's one of the things I've been working on since I took office. We have 3 top goals, and the third one is attracting and retaining great teachers and leaders. So you'll see in my budget request a approximately $980,000 ask for a teacher pipeline, a partnership for incentives for individuals to become teachers and teach in rural districts, partnerships with higher education to take those students who are getting ready to graduate and putting them in places where the teacher shortage is being felt the worst, for a promise that they'll stay in Idaho for a certain amount of time. And then, of course, a grow your own piece of that where, our paraprofessionals, those are our, playground assistants, our library assistants, our folks who are with kids all the time, who are backing up teachers in classrooms, sending them to college and having them become teachers and staying in their district. So you'll see that in my budget request. We also commissioned a report on that for the state of Idaho to see exactly who's being impacted the most. And what we do know is that, there's not students going into some of the educator preparation programs too in the state of Idaho. But I think a lot of that relates back to the culture surrounding education that you mentioned earlier. It's no wonder we have a teacher shortage when there's negativity around education. And so we've worked really hard on being positive and making sure that folks have the facts about Idaho's ranking in education, and we are not 48.
When we take a look at working with the Little administration versus the Otter administration, any difference?
I'm really excited. There's a great feel, with the change across the street. I've had, I call that across the street because, my office is right next to it, right behind the Capitol. So,
right.
But it's been great. I've had the opportunity to work with the lieutenant governor for 4 years. Now I'm going into my 5th year, and it's just a wonderful opportunity to continue that great partnership. In his State of the State address, he said education would be his top priority, and I just love his idea of creating a children's cabinet to advise him on educational issues. And so, he's creating a new task force to continue the educational improvements that we've seen and those strategic investments beyond that 5-year plan that we had. He shares my commitment to improving teacher pay and building on early literacy to close the gaps in our youngest readers. And so I'm excited to continue that relationship and work with him on education issues.
And we go to Brian in Nampa has a question for the state school superintendent, Sherry Ibarra, about special education. Brian, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Good morning. Hey, thanks for taking my call this morning. I just want to say, first off, what you're doing with the school districts has been amazing. We've seen some cool things happen really across the valley. One thing that's impactful, especially for my family, is special education. And having my wife in that field as an educator, one of the difficult things that she comes across is just the caseload and the support that she's getting from the district level and then just statewide. And I was wondering what sorts of things might be coming down the pipeline to help kind of reduce that caseload from having, 80 kids on your caseload to something a little bit more manageable, that the kids are getting the attention that they need and we're not getting the burnout from, just overworked faculty across the board.
We do have a division in my department, special education. We have a fantastic Dr. Charlie Silva that reaches out to all of our special education field, and so we are there to assist at any time. And I understand that, but interestingly enough, one of the things that the funding formula is looking at is having extra funding for our at-risk population, which happens to be our special ed students. You know this. Our English language learners. And so they're looking kind of at a wedding cake layer approach, which, there will be a base enrollment model for students, a student enrollment model, because, right now we're on attendance. That's how we're funded. Then there will be an enrollment model and then another layer for students at risk, which could be special ed, which could be English language learners. And so I'm excited about that conversation moving forward, which I think will be a real help to schools and districts, and especially the kids. The number one priority is making sure that the kids have what they need. And I think also, special ed is one of the areas where they've been hit the hardest with the educator shortage. And so really making sure every year that I keep that in the forefront of legislators' minds and this ask that I have in there for the teacher pipeline to make sure that we have enough qualified folks to fill those positions in the state of Idaho.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you taking the call.
Absolutely.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Sure, Ben, go ahead.
As far as that recruiting in the teacher pipeline, is there anything that we can do at the local level to help raise awareness or just kind of get that more on the forefront of people's minds to get more educators into the system?
Absolutely. Always talking to your legislator is helpful, asking, if they're aware of the pipeline initiative and if they're supportive of it and how that would help. And if you need more information, certainly give my office a call and we'll send out some information to you for you to share.
Awesome. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ben. State School Superintendent Sherry Barr with us, KIDO Talk Radio. Any final thoughts, ma'am?
I just want to take an opportunity to thank Idahoans for their support. It's an honor to be back for my 5th year as Idaho's top advocate for our students. And I just want to say I'm excited about the possibilities for the future and that education, once again, is going to be the top priority of the session this year.
Well, we appreciate you joining us as always, and hopefully we'll see you back when we're on the trail, and we appreciate you making yourself available as always.
Thanks so much, Kevin.
Thank you. State School Superintendent Sherry Ibarra joining us. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's go to Ben in Garden City, who's been very patient. Ben, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller.
Hi, Kevin. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you, Ben.
Hey, so one thing I wanted to say is that, law doesn't give rights, it takes away rights. That's just the nature of law. When you create a law, you're saying a person cannot do this. There are specific instances where they give rights, but for the most part, they take away rights. So if the legislator was to pass a law, including, certain language that said that you have to hire somebody regardless of their sexual orientation, or they have to be able to live within your community, what they're doing is they're saying that the people don't have a right at that point to choose the kind of people they want to associate with. let's carry that on to say, well, you have to be able to, if a person doesn't believe in vaccines, for instance, they don't want to have aborted fetal tissue put in their body, then you have to hire them, or they have to be allowed to go to school. And I mean, the legislators done a good job with giving the parents the right with vaccines, but still, I mean, how far do you want to carry that? What if I go to a car lot, a new car lot, and I don't like the salesman because he's homosexual, or because I'm homosexual and he's not, and I go to another car lot and buy the same vehicle because I like that guy? Should they be able to unwind that deal and say, no, you got to go back to this guy because you didn't buy the car because you didn't like him because of his sexual orientation? How far do you carry this thought idea?
Well, let's throw it out to people, Ben, and see what their response is.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Liberty Linda joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio.
Yes, good morning, Kevin.
Good morning.
You know, I'm Liberal Steve calling in with a cold this morning. And, well, Kevin, you know, I'm like a cute little puppy dog, and you need to treat me good. Like a cute little poodle dog, you need to pet me often and keep me happy. Anyway, just teasing about Liberal Steve. We know he helps out a lot, and he has a good heart.
Well, I don't think he really helps out a lot. He just antagonizes people.
In some cases. So anyway, just a little bit of teasing for Liberal Steve. But okay, I'll be back to Liberty Linda now with common sense. How's that?
Well, that would be welcome here, yes.
Yes. Climate change is the most globalist, popular way of robbing the people's money. And anyway, you hit it good this morning, Kevin, when you started talking about that. You know, and if Brad Little believes in that, that frightens me, Kevin. You know, I think many that knows what's going on in our world today worried about Brad Little a little bit, because some of us didn't really know if he was leaning left or leaning right. And I think that's why we're thinking about going with the other two that ran. But anyway, so with him coming out and saying what he said about climate change, that tells us a lot. And also, anyway, what was said this morning about the Georgia Guidestones was correct. They did a study on the Georgia Guidestones, and if there was a flood on the earth, that is one area of the earth that would not flood, which is quite interesting. So I just wanted to bring those points out this morning. And so, yeah, climate change and the new governor, Brad Little, agreeing with it, that worries me.
Well, we'll keep that rolling. Liberty Linda, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, Kevin. It was a great show today.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Coming up, more of your thoughts. We've got the Words people protesting at the Capitol. You hear from them next. 580-5436, plus the State of Your Union, when we're looking at, you know, whether or not we should have the State of the Union. Should we have a State of the Union party? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And we had a group of protesters yesterday on, I wouldn't say Capitol Hill, but at the Capitol in Boise, saying that it's time to add the words. It's been too long. And haven't we moved on from this? And as Ray Amaya was telling me off the air, when have we had a single report of a hate crime in the state of Idaho involving anybody who is transgender or homosexual or gay or whatever? I can remember when the city of Boise passed their ordinance. And it was we still have the sound from that. And they, you know, all these allegations, and it was the old Chief Masterson. And we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And statewide, how many incidents were reported? Well, 5 or 3 or something of that nature. So do we need add the words? We'll talk a little bit about that next. I know a lot of you want to speak on that issue, but first, traffic and weather together, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Dave.
It's Channel 7's Eric Gebert.
And we go to Brian in Nampa with Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Brian.
Hey, Kevin. First Amendment, why? You know I'm a big proponent of the Second Amendment, but you ever wonder why the First Amendment was put in first?
No.
Because words matter. because our founders understood the power of words and the power of communication and networking, and that had a larger effect on the people of the United States than even the Second Amendment would. Now, you have to have the second to defend the first, but we need to be really careful what we do with words because it makes a big, huge difference, even a larger difference than firearms do. So different perspective, and I agree with what your caller called in and said. It matters. I've worked in some very liberal companies, Polo, JP Morgan, HP, contracted for different ones, and they discriminate against conservatives. If you're a religious person, I'm friends with these people, transgenders, gay people, LGBT. I can associate with them and be friends with them. But when we start forcing others' morals or religious views on others, that's wrong. And Jordan Peterson said this, what's a religious view? It's something that you basically live day to day for. So you could call LGBT or transgender rights a religion in that definition. So I agree. We got to be really careful how we change words. I believe they should have the right to live their life the way they want to, whether I believe that's morally against my God's will or anybody else's. If you want to live that way, great. But when you come here and you start telling me that I can't say that's wrong, and I believe that's wrong, and that you're going to punish me for saying that, then I have a problem.
Brian, thank you for the call. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, Kevin.
And to Washington, D.C., the White House in particular, John Decker joining us now. John, good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
Just trying to keep up with all the stuff going on in Washington. We've got the Attorney General nominee talking a little bit about the Mueller report and people going back to the old days. I guess we're dating ourselves when we're talking about Ken Starr, Bill Clinton, prosecutors.
Well, I covered that, so I guess I am dating myself. But, I covered the Clinton administration. I've covered the White House since 1995. And, of course, I remember impeachment quite well. And for any listener, they remember the Starr report because it was made available to the public. Anybody could read it cover to cover. The same may not be said for the Mueller report once that is completed, in the sense that there's no mandate that the Mueller report be seen by the public, nor is there a mandate, actually, that the Mueller report be seen by members of Congress. The only mandate is that Mr. Mueller must turn that report over to the Attorney General, and then it's up to the Attorney General how he wants to handle it. He can make it public. He can do a summary of the report. He can turn the full report over to Congress. The only reason why we saw the Starr report is because the House of Representatives, upon receiving the report, took a vote, and it was bipartisan, and they voted to release that Starr report to the American public.
John Decker joining us on KIDO Talk Radio. Of course, I guess there's a difference between, well, John, you're an attorney, a reporter, a journalist. You teach this stuff in college. Is there really a difference between an independent prosecutor and a special prosecutor?
Well, there is, because they were set up under different laws. And so what Ken Starr, did during his time investigating then President Clinton for, as it turns out, 4 years, it was set up under a different law than this current special counsel law, which allowed the appointment of Mr. Mueller. And so there are Justice Department guidelines or regulations that Mr. Mueller and the incoming Attorney General, it will likely be the person who had confirmation hearings this week, Bill Barr, that they must abide by in terms of how to handle Mr. Mueller's report once he completes it.
All right, John, let's see if we can get you into trouble here. As a member of the D.C. Bar, what do you make of the Attorney General or the Attorney General nominee?
Well, Bill Barr, I think, did a very good job during his one day of testimony There were 2 days of the hearing. That yesterday was really listening to witnesses both for and against Mr. Barr, but I think he mollified the concerns of a number of senators who are Democrats. I believe that when his nomination comes up on the Senate floor, there will be at least one Democrat who votes to confirm him. I think that will be likely Joe Manchin of West Virginia. Bill Barr is also, like myself, a graduate of George Washington Law School here in Washington, D.C., so I hope he makes it, just as a proud alum. But, obviously he's held this job before. He was the Attorney General during the administration of George H.W. Bush. Well-received, well-respected, praised by members of both parties, including Joe Biden, who, at the time he was confirmed, was the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee.
John, anything we should be looking out for? Do you think the president will continue to push on with the State of the Union? It does present a unique problem because doesn't he have to be invited by the Speaker of the House?
He does. He does indeed. And so the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, can disinvite the president, can postpone that speech on her own if she wishes to. It's her house. She is Speaker of the House, and she has extended an invitation to the president. She's urged the president to postpone that State of the Union address simply because we are in the midst of a government shutdown. And right now, the State of the Union address is scheduled for January the 29th, which is a Tuesday. I would not be surprised to see it postponed, at least if this government shutdown, this partial government shutdown, continues, Kevin.
John, we always appreciate your reporting. We've talked to you forever. Thank you again, sir.
That sounds great. Thanks a lot, Kevin. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you real soon.
Thank you, John. Bye-bye. I want to see if I can get him to say goodbye. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Joining us now, the publisher of the Gem State Patriot, Tea Party Robert.
Well, I'm not going to say goodbye. I'm going to say hello, and nice to have you back, my friend.
Yes, I so appreciate you telling everybody that I was in Hawaii, but good to be back.
I heard you with a big kahuna over there, out on the surfboard.
Mahala, yes, it was quite a big surfboard. It was about 7 of them.
I understand it was a catamaran.
Oh, you must write your own material.
I do. Yeah, I know. You hate my shtick. Anyway, I said I would withhold comment on the new governor until he had an opportunity to show his colors, and this morning he pulled back the curtain a bit to give us a peek with his comment on climate change. This is the old Brad Little I know who plays the middle of the road by putting his toe in the liberal waters to get some good press, but doesn't quite get his boots wet. What he should be talking about is the wildfires which have devastated the state because of the poor management by the federal government of our forests. Thanks for having Janice on this morning, as she seems to have a decent handle on what's happening in our state. And she's going to be a positive change to the government when it comes to problem solving and seems willing to listen to new suggestions to solve these problems. We will see whether she can influence the governor and the legislature over the next 4 years.
Well, but you did hear the lieutenant governor say this morning that the grocery tax repeal will happen this legislative season.
From your lips to God's ears, Kevin, I wait until I see it in my actual budget. Janice commented on the state budget. It's growing faster than the money is coming into the Treasury. And that's where the rubber meets the road. We all agree that the state government is too bloated and needs to be trimmed down, but no one seems to want to get a serious handle on this. And I doubt the governor is going to change anything. He said he's going to remove 2 regulations for every one he institutes. That has yet to be seen. As I usually say, the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and the legislature hasn't had an opportunity to sit down at the table and look at the menu yet. Coming into this year with a deficit is tough enough, especially when the governor has said he wants to eliminate the grocery tax.
Well, I guess we're getting off on the right foot with the governor, and probably we won't be seeing him on this program once again. With all the great feedback you're giving him, so there we at. Hold on, we've survived 8 years of Governor Otter giving us the Heisman. I want to thank you for being the ambassador for this program to ensure we probably won't get the lieutenant governor or the governor on now. Yes, go ahead.
Kevin,
please.
my job is to keep people honest. You know that. That's all I try to do.
Making friends and influencing people. Yes.
Look, this grocery tax is going to cost the state $79 million. We already have a deficit. The startup cost for Medicaid expansion is looming, and that's going to add $40 million.
Now, is there any good news?
Well, they need more highway funds. So where's the money going to come from? That's all I want to know. Where's it going to come from?
People are moving in. The tax revenues are going up. Maybe you should give peace a chance. I mean, you and the governor.
I'm giving him a chance.
You and the governor had, a historic meeting at Thomas Hammer many years ago in this program, and when he was the lieutenant governor, maybe we should play this out.
Well, I'm going to let it play out. I hope Governor Little is going to seek some conservative counsel when it comes to the budget and look for some innovative ways to solve these problems, because right now the problems are growing, and I, for one, haven't heard very many suggestions to solve them. I think if we all need to say a prayer for good old Brad, because he is definitely going to need all the help he can.
If you would have gone the way I voted in the primary, we would be having this discussion.
Well, I'm not going to reveal how you voted in the primary because that's not something I want to do.
Everybody knows that I voted for Dr. Ahlquist.
Everybody
knows that. And something? Tommy Ahlquist, he could have gone a different direction. Your guy, the former congressman, Raul Labrador, he could have gone a different direction, but this is the will of the people. So, don't blame me. I voted for Tommy.
Let's put it this way, okay? The will of the people was 37% of the voting public, and that's why we have Governor Little in there.
Now, did you vote for Governor Little in the general election?
I did not.
Who did you vote for?
In the general election?
Yeah.
I voted for Labrador.
You in the general, not the primary.
Oh, I voted for Labrador. Well, in the general election? Well, actually, what I did was I walked in, I held my nose, and then I marked his name off.
Well, you see, you're a Brad Little supporter, so you can't complain.
No. I'd rather be an athletic supporter, not a Brad Little supporter right now.
Well, that's your own choice. It sounds like the voice of experience.
He needs to show me that he's the conservative person he's trying to portray himself
This
to
isn't
be.
Missouri.
If he is, I'll give him all the accolades in the world. But if he isn't, you got to tell the truth about the politicians nowadays. There are too many of them out there trying to pull the wool over our eyes.
Well, we've got you, so we appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, my friend.
Always a spirit.
You be the good shepherd for me, okay?
Yes, mahala.
Take care, my friend.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Yes, bye-bye. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Much more on the government shutdown next. Can Nancy Pelosi really kick the president out of the people's house? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Coming up, two mystery guests before that. Max in Garden City on KIDO Talk Radio. Can Nancy Pelosi give the president the boot? It is her house. Good morning, Max.
Good morning. It is her house, but the law says he can deliver this State of the Union from the surface of the moon if he wants. So what he needs to do is disinvite Nancy Pelosi. How about doing it either from the Oval Office or from a packed football stadium? If I know Mr. Trump, he knows that she's making a power play. This has nothing to do with the shutdown, nothing to do with lack of security. Our president has lived under tight security, good security, for over 20 years. All he needs to do is either, like Rush Limbaugh suggested, have another rally, or you know what, he could do it Ronald Reagan style by the fireplace. He needs to go ahead and have it on time. And even if he's allowed to do it in the House, he needs to say, no, I'm not comfortable with you. Wouldn't that be the ultimate slap in the face?
Interesting take.
He can do it. He can do it. He can write it. He can give it in semaphore. He can give it in sign language. The law simply says he has to deliver it. Well, if everybody's watching on TV, it's delivered. And Nancy will just sit there, and her and her little brother Chucky will grind their teeth, wail, and gnash their teeth. Maybe they'll rend their garments. We'll have some fun there. Listen, it's good to hear you back from Hawaii. As usual, you're doing a good job. Keep it up. But I really wish you'd get back with me. I've got something you want to hear.
Yes, I know. I owe you not only emails, but a text message return.
Give me a call. I promise I won't keep you long. You need to hear this.
For a good time,
All right.
call Max.
Well, buddy, I'm there. I won't ask you again. Have a good day.
All right. Thank you. Traffic and weather together. KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Dave.
I'm just Channel 7's Eric Gebert.
All right. We're joined by Aaron and Rob here that have invaded the studio from Team Mazda Subaru. Joining us now to, I don't know, have a chat about something. You were just going on and on about the State of the Union.
Well, I just said that the idea the last caller gave you was
Max?
outstanding. Max said he should fill a stadium. I think I'm from Ohio, and if they could fill the shoe there at Ohio State, the house that Harley built.
Yeah, Ohio, where all good things come from. However, it would be nice if and we've been the only media outlet, the only talk show host in the state of Idaho that has continued to actively recruit the President of the United States to come here, and we would love him to have it on your beloved Boise State blue.
Wow.
I see your horseshoe and raise it to the blue. in real America.
Got it, right, got it.
You know, Ohio gets so much attention, right?
Yeah, we just need to head west.
We need to be out here
Right
with the
here.
real folks,
Yep.
the real
Mhm,
Americans.
mhm. Maybe Taco Bell. Just fill that thing.
Well, maybe Taco Bell. Yeah,
A little chilly this time of year. I don't want to sit outside.
I'm partial to the Idaho Center,
Oh,
where the real people are, the real Idahoans.
that's true. That's
Yes.
true. That thing could get
That's
rocking.
closer
if you
to
come
you.
out here, that thing could get rocking.
That's closer to you guys.
That's right. And we could solve this problem. We'd turn the government back on.
We could have him at the Walmart parking lot
In
for
one evening.
the spring edition of Miller's Mission. He could be there.
Wow.
Yeah.
People could bring turkeys.
Maybe he could share a fifth wheel with you there, Kev.
I don't know why, Aaron, you're always wanting to and this is the strangest thing. We've got the spring edition of Miller's Mission coming up, brought to you by Team Mazda Subaru. And off the air, now this is the strange thing. I have so many men that want to sleep in the RV with me. I don't want to say sleep with me, but sleep in the RV with me.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that, Aaron? Why do you want to camp out? And you have personally lobbied me more than anybody else. Why is that? Let's
Are
put
you really
you on
going
the
to
spot.
ask him that question?
I don't know if
gonna
I can
put you on
answer
the-
that on your show. it might not go well, Kevin.
I
mean, you're the big kahuna.
I'm adorable and
cuddly,
plump. You hear this thing that they're paying now. They have professional huggers here in the Treasure Valley for $85 an hour. You can,
Cuddlers.
Yeah, cuddlers. Thank you.
Cuddlers. I heard that on the radio the other day.
Right. So you can do that, and all of a sudden, I mean, who wouldn't want a cuddle with me? I mean, I have a lot of, what do they call that?
Cuddle factor.
Surplus as opposed to a deficit.
I mean,
So Kevin, we are big radio supporters. We do a lot of radio.
Well,
Team Mazda Super.
KIDO Talk Radio.
This is
yes.
this is what we kind of pull for right here.
Yeah.
Cuddlers.
I mean, quite frankly, Kevin, I thought it was your business. I mean, you popped in my brain when I heard
Kevin the
commercial.
Cuddler.
You would
Kevin the
make a
Cuddler.
great cuddler. Should we do it now for your
Should we
listening audience?
I mean, just group
Folks,
hugs.
this is what we call theater of the mind. We'll just let your imaginations run wild with that.
Aaron, stop that.
Get away from him, Rob. He's mine.
There we have it, folks. Some people have appeals to the younger, cosmetically appealing females, and
There it is. Okay, so we're going to turn the government back on by bringing Donald Trump to Idaho.
Yes,
Okay.
we are.
And Tea Party, he'll
I'm
show
still,
up. I
I'm
hope.
still getting over the hug from Aaron on the air. Thank you. This is what we call the too much information. Big news this weekend at Team. We got the big flyer coming out.
Yep.
Got wonderful deals on pre-owned
doing
cars
it.
and the second opinion.
Second opinion.
Second opinion.
If you
Like the Second Amendment. The second opinion.
Lots of
Supers are red hot.
Lots of new Ascents. Lots of new 19 Foresters.
Oh yeah.
Amazing,
How's your
amazing
Forester?
selection.
Forester, love the Team Mazda Drive for Excellence in Education Forester. Drove it in
Treating
today.
you well. Aaron said turn the Bluetooth on. Just flip that thing on.
Just flip it
Ready
on.
to
So
go.
I can talk to Max.
You
Yes,
talk
on
to
my
Max.
phone.
You can call Max back.
We're trying to help you, Max. We're
You
going
don't
to get you
have
that
to
phone
text him,
call.
You can call them
Yeah, on the drive.
in your Subaru Forester.
And your Subaru Forester.
That team.
Team Mazda sponsored.
You got 10 more seconds.
10 more seconds.
Let's get another hug.
Let's cuddle.
Oh, no,
Let's cuddle.
please.
Let's hold each other.
Glenn Beck's next. Stay tuned.